When Aunt Clara sent me that audio clip, I never imagined it would unravel my entire world. I'd just gotten home from a long shift at the bookstore, my feet aching, my mind drifting toward a hot shower and a frozen pizza. My apartment was small but cozy, tucked away in a noisy corner of the city, and I cherished the routine of unwinding there. I tossed my bag on the couch, kicked off my sneakers, and sank into the cushions, ready to scroll mindlessly on my phone. Then it buzzed. A text from Aunt Clara. That was odd, she called sometimes, but texts were rare, especially ones that just said, "Lila, I'm sorry, but you need to hear this." My stomach did a little flip. Clara wasn't dramatic, so the message felt heavy, urgent. I tapped the attached audio file, expecting maybe a family argument or bad news about Mom. Instead, my brother Ethan's voice filled the room, loud and smug, like he was holding court. The background was all clinking glasses and laughter, probably that dive bar he loved. I turned up the volume, my curiosity morphing into unease. "Look, Lila's too soft to ever make me leave," Ethan was saying, his tone dripping with mockery. "She thinks I'm broke, man. Meanwhile, I'm stacking cash and living in her place for free. Why pay rent when my sister's dumb enough to let me crash forever?" Laughter erupted, his buddies, no doubt. I recognized Jake's wheezy chuckle and some girl's high-pitched giggle. "She's got no clue I've been working at the warehouse for months," Ethan went on. "Got a raise last week, too. But, why spend my money when Lila's footing the bill?" The recording cut off abruptly, but my hands were shaking. I replayed it, hoping I'd misheard, but each word sliced deeper. Too soft. Dumb enough. Living for free. My apartment, my safe little haven, suddenly felt like a cage. For 2 years, Ethan had been sleeping on my pull-out couch, eating my food, using my Wi-Fi, all while I thought I was helping him through a rough patch. And here he was, laughing at me, calling me a fool in front of his friends. I sat there, frozen, the phone still in my hand. The air felt thick, pressing against my chest. I wanted to scream, to call him right then and demand answers, but something stopped me. Maybe it was the way his voice sounded so sure, so certain I'd never catch on. Or maybe it was the sting of realizing I'd been played. Ethan, my little brother, the one I'd stayed up late talking to when we were kids, the one I'd promised Mom I'd look out for, he'd been lying to my face. The text from Clara glowed on my screen. I stared at it, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Part of me wanted to ask her where she got the recording, to demand every detail, to give Ethan a chance to explain. But another part, the part waking up for the first time in years, knew there was no explanation that could undo this. I typed back, "Thanks, Clara. Please don't tell him I know. I'll deal with it." I set the phone down and leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Ethan wasn't home, he was probably still at that bar, laughing, spending the money he claimed he didn't have. I should have been furious, but instead, a strange calm settled over me. It wasn't peace, not yet, but clarity. I'd been blind for too long, letting him take and take while I smiled and called it family. That was over now. Tomorrow, I'd face him. I'd smile, make his coffee, ask about his day, just like always. He'd have no idea what was coming. But I did. And that was enough for now. The audio clip looped in my head, Ethan's smug voice carving out a hollow space in my chest. I sat on my couch, the city's hum filtering through the window, but all I could hear was him laughing. Too soft. Dumb enough. 2 years ago, when Ethan showed up at my door, I didn't hesitate to let him in. He'd been fired from his bartending gig, his landlord had kicked him out, and he looked like a kicked puppy, all apologies and promises. "Just a few months, Lila," he'd said, eyes wide. "I'll figure it out, I swear." I believed him. I always did. He was my little brother, the kid I'd helped with homework, the one who'd sneak me snacks when Mom grounded me. So I cleared out my tiny office, bought a pull-out couch, and made space for him in my life. Those first weeks, he was grateful, helping with dishes, promising to chip in soon. But soon never came. He'd mumble about bad job interviews or surprise expenses, and I'd wave it off. Family helps family, right? I worked extra shifts at the bookstore to cover rent, utilities, groceries, telling myself it was temporary. I didn't mind the cramped space or the way my budget stretched thin. Ethan needed me, and that was enough. But the audio told a different story. I played it again, each word a fresh cut. "She thinks I'm broke, man," Ethan had said, his voice sharp with glee. "I'm stacking cash and living in her place for free." He wasn't jobless. He'd been working at a warehouse for months, even got a raise. I pictured him at that bar, leaning back in his chair, grinning as he bragged. "Why pay rent when my sister's dumb enough to let me crash forever?" His friends' laughter echoed, Jake's wheeze, some girls' giggle, all of them in on the joke. Me. My stomach churned. I thought of the nights I'd come home exhausted, finding Ethan sprawled on the couch, my snacks scattered around him. The times I'd skipped new shoes to pay the electric bill he never offered to split. 2 years of lies. He wasn't struggling, he was thriving, spending his money on drinks, new sneakers, probably those concert tickets he mentioned last week. All while I thought I was saving him. I replayed the clip a third time, my shock hardening into something else. Anger, yes, but also shame. How had I not seen it? I'd trusted he, ignored the signs, the late nights, the new clothes, the way he dodged questions about work. I felt like the fool he said I was, my kindness twisted into a punchline. My apartment, my sanctuary, felt tainted, like his betrayal had seeped into the walls. I wanted to storm out, find him at that bar, and scream. Demand he explain how he could laugh at me like that. But I didn't. I sat there, the phone heavy in my hand, and let the truth settle. Ethan wasn't just taking advantage, he was playing me, banking on my softness, my need to be the good sister. And it had worked. Until now. Aunt Clara's text still glowed on my screen. "Lila, I'm sorry, but you need to hear this." She must have been at that bar, overheard him, recorded it. I wondered if she hesitated before sending it, knowing it would break me. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Part of me wanted to call her, ask how long she'd known, if others knew too. But that could wait. Right now, I needed to decide what came next. The old Lila would have texted Ethan, given him a chance to spin a story, to charm his way out. She would have softened, let him stay, because that's what family does. But the new Lila, the one staring at her phone with a tight jaw, wasn't that person anymore. I typed a reply to Clara, "Thank you. Don't tell him. I'll handle it." I stood, pacing my tiny living room, the pull-out couch mocking me from the corner. Ethan's stuff was everywhere, sneakers by the door, a half-empty energy drink on the counter. This wasn't his home, it was mine. And I was done being his fool. I didn't know exactly what I'd do yet, but I knew one thing, Ethan was about to learn I wasn't as soft as he thought. The next morning, I stood in my kitchen, stirring cream into my coffee, the scent grounding me as Ethan shuffled in. He was oblivious, his hair messy from sleep, wearing the same hoodie he'd left on my chair last week. "Morning," he mumbled, grabbing my almond milk from the fridge without asking. He poured it into a bowl of my cereal, humming to himself, completely at ease. 2 years of this, him moving through my space like he owned it, taking without a second thought. Yesterday, I would have smiled, let it slide. Today, I watched him, my grip tight on my mug. "Rough night?" I asked, my voice light, practiced. Ethan grunted, flopping into a chair. "Yeah, bar got wild. Jake's an idiot when he's drunk." He laughed, like I was in on the joke. I forced a smile, my mind replaying his voice from the audio. "She's dumb enough to let me crash forever." He had no idea I knew, no clue I'd spent the night Googling lease agreements and local rentals, mapping out my next move. I sipped my coffee, studying him. His new sneakers caught my eye, bright, expensive, not the kind you buy when you're broke. My cereal box sat open on the table, half empty because he never rationed it. Little things I'd ignored before now screamed at me. "Work okay?" I asked, casual, like I didn't know he'd been at the warehouse for months. He shrugged, scrolling his phone. It's fine. Boss is a pain, though. A lie, or at least a half-truth. I nodded, playing along, while my resolve grew. He thought he had me figured out, thought I'd never push back. I wasn't ready to tip my hand, not yet. I needed him to feel safe, to keep acting like nothing had changed. So, I said, leaning against the counter, what's your plan this month? You've been here a while. Thinking about next steps? My tone was breezy, but I watched his reaction. Ethan froze, just for a second, then laughed. Next steps? Lila, come on, I'm swamped. Job's keeping me busy, and moving's a hassle. Plus, rent's insane out there. He shook his head, like the idea was absurd, like I'd never dare challenge him. I raised an eyebrow, keeping my smile soft. Yeah, I get it. Just thinking, maybe it's time for some changes around here. He barely looked up, too busy texting. Changes? Like what? I let the silence stretch, just long enough for a flicker of tension to settle in. Oh, nothing major, I said. Just something to think about. He snorted, dismissing me, and went back to his phone. He thought I was bluffing, that I'd fold like always. He had no idea I'd already called a friend who knew a property manager, no clue I was done playing the fool. I rinsed my mug, my movements calm, deliberate. Ethan crunched his cereal, oblivious to the shift. He didn't notice the way I watched him, didn't sense the plan forming behind my eyes. For 2 years, I'd let him take up space in my home, my life, without question. Now, I saw every move he made, the way he left dishes in the sink, the way he used my streaming accounts without asking. Each one was a reminder, he wasn't here out of need. He was here because I'd let him stay. As he grabbed his jacket and headed out, muttering about meeting friends, I called after him, "Have a good day." My voice was warm, the same as always. He waved without looking back, the door clicking shut behind him. I stood in the quiet, my apartment feeling both too small and too big. Then I opened my laptop and started typing, rental agreement template. Ethan thought he knew me. He was about to learn how wrong he was. A week later, I decided it was time. Ethan was in the living room, sprawled on the couch, watching some loud action movie on my TV. I'd spent days playing the part, smiling, chatting, letting him think nothing had changed. But I'd also been busy, finalizing a lease agreement with a property manager I'd found through a coworker. The terms were simple, $1,000 a month, utilities split, starting next month. Fair, even generous, for a city apartment. Now, I just had to break the news. I sat across from him, coffee in hand, and muted the TV. He groaned. Yo, I was watching that. I smiled, calm. We need to talk, Ethan. He rolled his eyes but sat up, sensing something was off. What's up? He asked, his tone wary. I've been thinking, I said, keeping my voice even. You've been here 2 years, and it's been great helping you out. But I think it's time you start paying rent. Say, $1,000 a month? It's way below market rate. His jaw dropped, like I'd asked him to hand over his kidney. Rent? He sputtered. Are you serious? I nodded, sipping my coffee. Yeah. You've got a job, right? Warehouse is paying well, especially with that raise. His eyes widened just for a second before he caught himself. He didn't know I knew about the raise, didn't know about the audio. I mean, yeah, I'm working, he said, but $1,000? That's insane, Lila. We're family VDFGDFFG. Exactly, I said, my tone still light. Family helps each other. I've helped you for 2 years, no rent, no bills. Now it's your turn to chip in. He scoffed, leaning back, arms crossed. Come on, you don't need the money. You're fine. Why pull this now? I tilted my head, watching him squirm. Because it's fair, Ethan. You're living here like a tenant. Time to pay like one. His face twisted, a mix of shock and indignation. This is messed up. I didn't expect you to, turn on me. There it was, the guilt trip. I almost laughed. Turn on you? I said. I'm asking for rent, not kicking you out. Yet. The yet hung in the air, sharp. He blinked, thrown off. He wasn't used to this Lila, the one who didn't budge. He switched tactics, softening his voice. Look, I know I've been a pain sometimes. I appreciate you, okay? I've just got a lot going on, work stress, life stuff. I'll figure it out, just, not now. Classic Ethan, dodging with charm. I didn't flinch. Life stuff? I said. Like those new sneakers? Or the concert tickets you were bragging about? His mouth opened, then closed. Gotcha. I'm not joking, Ethan, I continued. Starting next month, $1,000. I'll have the lease ready soon. He shook his head, laughing bitterly. A lease? You're really doing this? I nodded. Yup. It's time. He stood, pacing, his frustration boiling over. Wow, you've changed. What, you don't trust me anymore? I met his gaze, unflinching. Should I? The question landed like a slap. He froze, then stormed out, muttering, whatever, I'm not dealing with this. The door slammed, and I exhaled. He thought I'd cave, that I'd text him an apology by morning. But I wouldn't. I opened my laptop and emailed the property manager, finalize the lease. He's been notified. Ethan thought this was a game. He was about to lose. The first of the month came quietly, but Ethan didn't. He strolled into the kitchen at noon, acting like nothing had changed, grabbing my orange juice from the fridge and chugging it straight from the carton. I watched from the table, my laptop open, the lease agreement email already sent to him. He thought I'd backed down, that my rent talk was just a bluff. He was wrong. His phone pinged. He glanced at it, frowned, then tapped the screen. What the hell, he muttered, sitting up. He turned to me, holding his phone out. Lila, what's this? An email from some rental company? I set my coffee down, calm as ever. That's your lease agreement, I said, like it was the most normal thing in the world. His mouth fell open. My what? I repeated, lease agreement. Since you said you weren't paying rent, I made it official. You owe $1,000 today, per the terms. He scrolled frantically, his face reddening. This says I'm a tenant. You're actually serious? I nodded. As serious as it gets. He laughed, sharp and bitter. You're insane. I'm your brother, not some rando off the street. I leaned forward, my voice steady. You've been living here 2 years, Ethan, rent-free. I've paid for everything while you lied about being broke. That ends now. His eyes widened. Lied? What are you talking about? I didn't mention the audio, didn't need to. I know you've got a job, I said. A good one. You've got money for concerts, new clothes, bar tabs. But not for rent? That's not how this works. He flinched, caught. That's not, yeah, I've got some cash, but this is unfair. You never warned me. I raised an eyebrow. I told you a month ago. You laughed it off. That's on you. He stood, pacing, his panic rising. You're really doing this? To me? Your own brother? I didn't flinch. You did this to yourself, Ethan. You've got 2 options, sign the lease and pay, or move out. If you don't, you'll get a 14-day notice to vacate. Then eviction, if it comes to that. He froze, the word eviction hitting like a punch. Eviction? He hissed. You'd actually kick me out? I nodded, calm. If you don't pay or leave, yeah. I would. He stared, like he was seeing me for the first time. Then he switched gears, his voice softening, desperate. Lila, come on. I messed up, okay? I shouldn't have. I didn't mean to take advantage. I'll do better, I swear. I shook my head. You called me soft, Ethan. Said I'd never make you leave. You were wrong. His face paled. He opened his mouth, but no words came. He knew I knew, maybe not how, but enough. He tried one last time. I don't have anywhere to go. You're really gonna do this to me? I stood, closing my laptop. I looked into apartments nearby. There are places in your budget. I even found one with no security deposit if you apply this week. His jaw tightened, anger mixing with fear. You're enjoying this, he spat. I shook my head. No. But I'm done being used. He grabbed his phone, muttering, I'm out of here, and stormed toward the door. Take your time, I called after him. But if you don't pay by tonight, that 14-day notice comes tomorrow. The door slammed, and I exhaled, the weight of 2 years lifting just a little. Ethan thought he could wait me out. He was about to learn I wasn't bluffing. Ethan moved out 3 days later. No big scene, no shouting match, just a packed duffel bag, a box of clothes, and a curt note on the counter, I'm gone. Good luck. I stood in the living room, the silence wrapping around me like a warm blanket. No more sneakers cluttering the doorway, no more empty snack bags on the couch. My apartment was mine again, and for the first time in 2 years, I felt like I could breathe. I walked through the space, running my fingers along the counter, the bookshelves, the pull-out couch that was just a couch now. The city buzzed outside, but in here, it was peaceful. I'd spent the last few days cleaning, reclaiming every corner Ethan had claimed as his own. I'd even bought new curtains, bright ones, to mark the change. It wasn't just about the space, it was about me. I wasn't the pushover he thought I was, not anymore. A knock at the door pulled me from my thoughts. Aunt Clara stood there, a soft smile on her face. Well, she said, stepping inside. How's it feel? I grinned. Quiet. Good. She chuckled, looking around. Place looks bigger already. I laughed, offering her a coffee. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where I'd faced Ethan down, and I felt a weight I hadn't named settle into place. I wasn't sure I could do it, I admitted, stirring my coffee. He's my brother. I kept thinking maybe I was too hard on him. Clara shook her head, her eyes kind but firm. He's your brother, sure, but he was using you, Lila. You gave him every chance. Sometimes family needs tough love. I nodded, her words sinking in. She was right. I'd given Ethan 2 years of patience, of trust, and he'd laughed at it. I hadn't just taken back my apartment, I'd taken back my self-respect. Do you think he'll be okay? I asked, my voice quieter. Clara sighed. He's got a job, a head on his shoulders. He'll figure it out. Or he won't. Either way, it's not your job to carry him. I looked down at my coffee, letting that settle. Ethan had made his choices. Now he'd live with them, just like I was living with mine. That night, I sat on my couch, a glass of wine in hand, staring out at the city lights. For 2 years, I'd let Ethan take up space in my home, my life, my peace. I'd given everything, money, time, trust, and gotten lies in return. But I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even sad. I was free. Ethan had underestimated me, thought I'd stay soft forever. He'd learned the hard way, and so had I. I took a sip of wine, a small smile tugging at my lips. The apartment felt right again, like it was finally mine. And so was I.